one thing that needs to improve is the roster, right? The roster that they have is, I don't think it's a bad roster, but I don't think it's a major television network worthy roster at this point. They just lost Joe Hendry, which, we saw coming. So who do they have at the top? Mike Santana. I think Mike Santana is great. I think Frankie Kazarian, I think the character he plays right now is not a main event character, but I think he's a really good wrestler. A little on the old side. Then you got the Hardy Boys. The Hardy Boys are the ones drawing the houses, and they're like the face of this new TV show. I think they've done a great job with TNA. But again, a little on the old side, right? Nick Nemeth, a little on the old side. Eddie Edwards and Moose, over 40. Brian Myers, over 40. Matt Cardona, 40. All good talents, but there's a pattern. And what's another pattern? Outside of the Hardy Boys, none of them are selling tickets, right? It's just like Joe Hendry was before the Hardys got there. Hardys came in, they blew him away. And he was like down on the depth chart under them, not too far, but down on the depth chart behind them. So much so that he's left, and they haven't really seen a significant difference because we have the Hardys. So, chat, throw out some names of who you guys think we might want to see. I have some names, and the first name that I want to talk about right now is a name that I keep hearing being tossed out there. And if they're going to go on a big network, they might need a big star. I think they need to get younger and fresher, but I also think they need to get big stars. And that's really what people care about for television. That's what big TV network execs like. They like big name stars. How did WCW get to where they were? They brought in Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, and then they did the NWO angle, right? Like that's how they got to where they were at, right? How did AEW get to where they were at? Well, they weren't getting on TNT with just like, I know they might have had a deal in principle, but they weren't going to get to the success that they had without Chris Jericho and John Moxley. It just wasn't going to happen. And those two guys really set the stage for a big part of their success. The Young Bucks and Kenny Omega were great, in Japan, and great Ring of Honor level stars, but they weren't big TV network stars. Well, it just so happens that Chris Jericho is becoming a free agent soon. Now, all signs are pointing to him heading to the WWE, but the WWE, as it stands right now, it looks like they want him to do a retirement tour. I've been following Chris Jericho a long time. He is a big fan of the Rolling Stones. He's a big fan of Paul McCartney, big fan of Kiss. I don't think that guy wants to retire. And he's in really good shape right now. I don't think that he would want to do a retirement tour with the WWE. So if the reports are that the WWE wants him to do a retirement tour, and I don't think he has anything left to do in AEW, and I think the AEW fans don't want anything to do with him, to be honest with you. They feel like it's ran its course and that he's holding the roster back. Where he can make the biggest difference would be TNA. Now, again, I don't think it's going to happen. I just want to put that out there. But if TNA wanted to make a really big splash and they wanted to get a big star for their new network, I think that it would be Chris Jericho. I think that would be the guy that you would go for if you were TNA. Now, say what you want about Jericho. Has he lost a step? Yes, he's lost several steps. And his last several months in AEW were not that good. He'd gotten himself out of shape, probably partying too hard, and getting into some other things. But looks like the guy got himself back into shape, and he wants to have another couple runs here. And if you got a in shape, motivated Chris Jericho, he is the biggest name free agent that's on the market, and it's not even close. Like, he is a former WrestleMania main eventer. He is a WWE champion. He held the fake WCW title, but still the WCW title. He was a big-time main eventer for AEW. He is the original main eventer for AEW. He is the first AEW world champion. He is a big part of the reason why that company had its early success. I don't think anybody can take that away from him. Would Chris Jericho want to make a leap to a smaller promotion like a TNA, knowing that he could actually make a significant difference for them and actually be a draw? If anybody that could that could be a draw on the level of the Hardys is probably Chris Jericho. I could be wrong. But for all the people that don't like Chris Jericho, that hate Chris Jericho, you cannot deny the fact that he's a star. His star dimmed significantly while in AEW. But what happens when you go away for a while and you end up somewhere new? You get regenerated, you get rejuvenated. If I were TNA, and I had the opportunity to bring in Chris Jericho, I'm taking that opportunity. I feel the same way about Braun Strowman. I think that he's not ever going to give you a great wrestling match, but he can come in and be an Andre the Giant style figure. They could use him much like ECW used 911 and they used Psycho Sid whenever he went there, or Sid Vicious. Just a big monster that comes in and beats people up every now and then. I think that would be a good get for them. Now, other than that, though, those are the only two big names. People, I saw it, Killer Kross. I don't. Killer Kross isn't a star. Just sorry. I just watched Killer Kross recently, and he was wrestling in front of 85 people in MLW. Right. Actually, no, I'll take it back. The MLW in Charleston had a good crowd, probably 200 or 300 people, but Killer Kross is not a big star. He never really he was on the main roster in the WWE, but he never really broke through to where they took him seriously as a star. And I think a lot of the momentum that he had there towards the end when he was getting pushed out of the WWE was generated by the media, because he's friends with the media. He's friends with a lot of, he's a nice guy. Everybody likes the guy. Everybody roots for the guy. I don't think that he has anything that TNA would want. I don't think that he could bring anything to TNA that they can get anything out of. And when he left TNA before, and Tommy Dreamer is like the guy that's still around, and I think Bravo was around back then too. Him and Scarlett left on such a sour note. I don't think they would want to go down that road again. So I don't think it would be good for TNA. I don't think that he has anything to offer TNA, and I would not suggest bringing in Killer Kross. Like, the guy just can't go. I mean, it just is what it is. Let me see. Eddie has some ideas. He said, no big stars, but Manders, Tankman, Richard Holiday, Trevor Lee, Starboy, LeBron Cozone, and Titus Alexander. So I like Manders and Trevor Lee here. And LeBron Cozone, he's a guy here out of the Carolinas. He works with DPW. Titus Alexander, I think he's a West Coast guy. And I also like a guy named Kevin Blackwood. I would like to see them give him a shot. And it'd be nice if they got some like true heavyweights. That'd be cool. And then also you got, Lena Kross, they missed out on her. AEW signed her up. And so they missed out on her, but there's several female talents out there. Miyu Yamashita from Japan is somebody that they've had in before, and I thought has shined. I thought has shined when she's been there. You got Nikki Blackheart, who is making a name for herself on the indies. She is not particularly a good wrestler right now. She's green, but TNA should be early on talent like that instead of being too late like they were with Lena Kross. Like Lena Kross, they had her in, and they just couldn't lock the deal down. She held out for AEW, and then she got what she wanted. She's in AEW now, so kudos to her. But I think that there's several talents out there like that, and I think that they should go after Bozilla and make Bozilla, one of the cornerstones of their knockouts division. She's got a great look. She can work. I saw her have a really good match with Megan Bayne recently. And I think it might have been over WrestleMania weekend, I think. And she's been working predominantly in Japan, but I know that she's somebody that is on AEW's radar. It'd be nice for them to take somebody away from AEW and see if they can compete for talent and see what they really got cooking. Alter said, think it's too late for TNA to give Hammerstone another shot. I would say never on that, but I don't know what happened with him, man, because I like Hammerstone. I think Hammerstone's awesome. And they had him in there and they lost him. And I don't know why. And I'll never understand it. And maybe he just it wasn't the right fit. I don't know. He's doing his thing back in MLW, but I like Hammerstone, and I wish they would have kept him around. Let's see. Hold on. You might see Gabby Forza in the new year. I don't know who that is. Who's Gabby Forza? I don't think I've heard of her. Let's see. Nicholas Riley says would like the King Bees for the Knockouts division. I think they had the King Bees in. They did some jobs at one point, I thought, for them. So the King Bees were in. I think they were the former NWA tag team champions, if I'm not mistaken. Bear Bronson's wife. Okay. Hey, if she can work, bring her. I like, you know what? Bear Bronson is somebody that I meant to mention. I mentioned him on Twitter. So he looks like he's going to be in this weekend in El Paso, by all accounts. Hold on. I think I might have had a friend that was on the plane with him. I think. Was it Bear Bronson? I need to ask him if it was Bear Bronson that he was on the plane with. Yeah, no, it might not have been Bear Bronson, but somebody was like, I think the report was that I think Fightful had the report that Bear Bronson was coming. Now I'll be honest, I had not seen a lot of Bear Bronson, and I made sure to do a little bit of research because he's coming in, and once TNA signs someone, I try to go take a look at them. And so for any independent talent, I know I've had some independent wrestlers watch the show before, and then a lot of them follow me on Twitter. Word of advice: put a highlight reel and pin it to the top of your profile. Make it easy for people to figure out who you are. But Bear Bronson was a part of Bear, and I think Bear Bronson did do that, but there were some other people that I was looking at that didn't do that. So I just want to get that out there. He is he was in Bear Country, and then his tag team partner got jammed up on domestic violence thing and got fired from AEW, and then that really killed his run there in AEW. And I guess maybe guilt by association. I don't think they anybody treated him like that, but like once the act was over, like he was lost, and so he essentially got pushed out of AEW. Well, he's been really making a name for himself on the indies as the deathmatch wrestler, and I believe, can somebody in the chat, if you know this, I believe he was trained at the same place that Brian Myers trains at, right? I don't know if he's a Brian Myers student, but I think they trained at the same place. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Legacy. You just said it. Bronson is Myers' student. So there's a connection there. So it makes sense. And I watched his highlight, and then I watched one of his matches recently, and I was like, I'm not a death match guy. I don't like death matches, but I think that I think he's got something. And I'd like for them to give him a shot. Like, that's the type of guy they need to be giving a shot to. So we'll see. JMP base. Is this Joel? Is it J? Like, if this is Joel, like how many how many profiles do you have on YouTube, man? But yeah, Bear's the coach at Creative Pro. Yeah, I thought that was the case. But for sure, Bear Bronson, man like Darius, also from the UK, Michael Oku from the UK. A lot of people like him. I've seen some of his stuff lately. I think he might be a little overrated, and I think a lot of people wanted him to get signed by AEW because of a match that he had with Will Ospreay. That was one of the greatest matches I've ever seen, but I think Will Ospreay is just amazing. So, but Michael Oku is a guy that's got some buzz around him, and like I said, man like Darius. So there's lots of available talent. Here's the thing. They need to build through in the independents, build the roster through the independents. That is the cost-effective Moneyball way to do it. And then supplement through the free agency program, right? Supplement with these bigger name stars. Bear Bronson's not going to sell you a single goddamn ticket. He's just not. Okay. Probably not going to sell that many t-shirts, but if you get that guy on the show and you can tell some good stories with him, and then you put him in the ring with some bigger name stars, like Nick Nemeth or the Hardys, or, if you're able to get a Chris Jericho, and then maybe one day he becomes a big star, right? So the majority of the roster should be talent, like homegrown talents. And then you should have some WWE, AEW, like free agent, like big names, like on the town. Those are the guys that are going to anchor it and sell your tickets and get your TV ratings and, sell pay-per-views and things like that. and then eventually you got to start training their replacements, and that would be the idea behind it. Great NFL teams build through the draft and supplement through free agency, and that's, I think that they need to be able to do that. Let's see, TNA needs to cut the fat, so yeah, trim. Yeah, they definitely need to trim the fat for sure. Okay. All right, hold on. Lil Silver. TNA could possibly get AJ Styles versus Frankie Kazarian. I don't see that one happening, man. I'd love for it to happen. I just don't see it.